Hi, I'm Brian Russell. Welcome to Deep Dive Spirituality. Today I want to talk with you about an embodied spirituality. One of the temptations that we find in our day is the compartmentalization of our spirituality into that religious part of our lives when if we want to deep dive spirituality, we have to learn to integrate all aspects of life into a bigger vision for becoming the people that God created us to be. And this is rooted in the person of Jesus. As we seek to follow Jesus into the world to be his hands, his feet, his mouthpieces, we have to realize that Jesus lived a 100% authentic human life. And so, again, pardon this, but that means that Jesus actually did things like go to the bathroom. Jesus had to eat. Jesus slept. We know from the Gospels that besides sleeping and eating, that Jesus also wept. The scriptures in Hebrews talk about Jesus fully experiences the human life. And so, what does that mean for us? Well, it means that those very things that Jesus had to do to order his life are also part of our life, and we have to think about what does it look like to integrate those habits and rituals and those daily things that we do into a bigger picture of what God wants to do in our lives. So when persons want to work with me and want to talk about spiritual formation, some of the first questions that I ask don't necessarily sound spiritual because I'm interested in things like this. How many hours are you sleeping every night? Because at some level, if we're having problems in our spiritual life, it may actually begin because we don't get enough sleep. Because most people need 7 to 8 hours of sleep. I presume that Jesus needed 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And then the next thing I want to know is how are you exercising? And that depends on the type of job and the work that you do. But if you're a pastor, and there's always someone to see or a conversation to have or a book to read or a sermon to write, oftentimes we neglect that physical aspect of ourselves. Think of all the pastors around us who essentially get burned out because our bodies begin to deteriorate because we're not eating nutritious food, we're not sleeping enough, so we're not exercising. So what are your exercise habits? What are you putting into your body on a regular basis? How much are you sleeping? Those are the kind of things that are almost the foundations for taking a deeper dive and growing into the people that God created us to be, because we have an embodied spirituality. So, ask yourself those questions. Have I been able to integrate all of life into my vision of the person that God wants, each one of us to become? I'd love to have a conversation with you. I have a program called Deep Dive Spirituality. Again, we're not going to just talk about food and sleep and exercise. That's ultimately for you to plug into some kind of rule of life for habits. But those are some of the precursors that I'm going to assume that we're putting into place so that we can then begin to take the next steps into growing deeply in grace. If you're interested in a coaching conversation or you'd love to be part of a group program that I do exclusively for pastors, let me know. You can click on the link in the Instagram account or just email me deepdivespirituality@gmail.com. Love to work with you, love to hear from you. If you have any questions, post them in the comments, and I will see you next time.